the meat.
We are talking about one movie in preparation for another movie. So it might get a little while. We're here for the meat, the chunk, the sizzle. It's why you came. It's why you're here. It's why we're here. Talking about a Sony movie in the Marvel world, the first live-action interpretation of this character. You know him from the Spider-Man comics, the Spider-Man animated series. He's an anti-hero, a villain. He's a guy that comes out in his own movie, no Spider-Man, all on his own. Tom Hardy's playing him, and it's called Venom.
You were right on 99% of that, but it's not the first live action. It's just the best live action.
You just corrected me in the best way because you're right. The inevitable, because we're going to watch it soon.
The forgettable Topher Grace.
Topher Grace, who you might remember from that 70s show, was also in Spider-Man 3, and he did play Venom.
It's all right. I got you.
Dude, I'm just glad you did it now so I don't have to make an apology next week. That's what happens in the editing room. I'm always like, oh, great. Now there's something I get to correct myself on. How fun.
Stat boy.
Stat boy. I love it, Andy. No, we got the first really, really good interpretation of Venom. You're right. The first one was not so great. This one looks a lot bigger, a lot better, a lot more fun. Folks, this one is Venom. Full spoiler alert. Right now, the movie came out in 2018. And this gets a little confusing. This is where you get into the who owns what game, right? You're like, hey, well, how are you going to have a Venom with no Spider-Man, even though Spider-Man's owned by Sony too? So it's like they still, I feel like, could have maybe made something work. Either way, a little bit of help from Wikipedia here. We want to talk about the folks that made this thing, and we're going to talk about the story and do some gut checks from the Giggler. Venom is a 2018 American superhero film featuring the Marvel Comics character of the same name. This one's produced by Columbia Pictures in association with Marvel and Tencent Pictures, distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing, of course. It's the first film in Sony's Spider-Man universe. So this is actually a pretty recent update that they're calling this Sony round of movies, the Sony Spider-Verse. So you got the Spider-Man films, you got Venom, you're going to have Morbius, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is what they're calling the Spider-Verse. Venom's part of this. And directed by Ruben Fleischer from a screenplay by Jeff Pinker, Scott Rosenberg, and Kelly Marcel. Stars Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock / Venom alongside Michelle Williams, Riz Ahmed, Scott Hayes, and Reed Scott. And in the film, journalist Brock gains superpowers after becoming the host of an alien symbiote, which the species plans world domination. And he's got to stop these guys. Andy, before we get in the story, we both just watched this thing. I think you watched it today. I watched it last night with Carrie. Going to give a little bit of her take. How did this movie go for you? How many times you seen it, and how did this watch go?
Well, I just bought a new recliner, and I sat in that baby today and watched this. That was my favorite part of it, but the movie did not disappoint. I mean, this is one that it used to be on TV all the time on movie channels and stuff, but of course, right before this comes out, Let There Be Carnage, of course, it's nowhere to be found, and I had to pay $3.99 to rent it, but
as did I.
I had no regrets. It was just as enjoyable as the first time I saw it, and whoop,
the pillow
nap
fell.
time.
Yeah. So you enjoyed it the same amount, but you think you've seen it twice, 3 times?
No, I've seen it probably 5 times. It was just always.
Oh damn!
It's always on TV. I felt like
so
a while back.
You see it, you're like, you know what? I'll keep watching.
It's just kind of the same way where I turn on all the other Marvel movies and stuff that are on, and there's nothing else on. I'm like, all right, I'll just watch this.
Nice, man. Carrie and I watched it ourselves. Did Stephanie watch it with you?
Not this time.
Not this time around.
We've seen it many times.
She likes it.
Yeah.
Carrie enjoyed it as well. She had a similar comment as you when you first got to the house today. You know, it felt strange seeing a movie that you don't really have a lot of context for the character. We haven't seen just the one live-action interpretation that we in the Sam Raimi film. So it's like, what's this about? And this is also an origin story at its core, too. So you're getting a lot of exposition, a lot of things explained. I mean, you're learning about symbiotes and aliens that come from another place. This is a solo Marvel film, so there's nothing else at play. It's just, this is the story you're here to see. Give that spoiler alert already. Let's just get right into the story. I'll talk about this thing, how I feel about it as I go. Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy, he's a journalist, and he is always out to get the bad guy, no matter what. To his detriment, he's got this hot girlfriend. She's cool. She works at this science research place, and because he's a reporter, and he's got an interview with her boss the next day, played by Riz Ahmed. What's his name in the movie? Duncan. I don't know if we'll even get his name. I bet we don't, because it's the bad guy, the CEO of the company, who is into research. He's into R&D. He's into space travel. Essentially, he's kind of like an Elon Musk, a Jeff Bezos. He's a billionaire in tech. He's also now into research. He's gotten himself into military contracts for like space travel, and he's obviously got a bad motive here. He's looking to evolve the human race at any cost. And he's proven this time and time again. Studies he's had that's killed people. Eddie Brock wants to turn this guy basically in the spotlight and show everybody what he's got going on. This is Eddie Brock. He's got the Eddie Brock Report. He's got like his own YouTube channel. He works for a major network that he's like one of the best reporters in the country, it seems like. Like people like know who he is.
Yeah. He kind of is on hard times now, but
well, he gets in hard times because why? He breaks into his fiance's laptop. Again, she works for this bad guy, right? Finds some details, takes it to his interview, outs him, but like unintentionally outs his fiance. She gets fired from like her dream job.
Well, wasn't he already kind of on the outs because he moved from he had a conversation with her about how he moved from New York to San Francisco, and it kind of seemed like he kind of just worked his way out of there. Like I
missed that.
Had a bad story. I didn't.
In the beginning, it seemed like they were doing just fine. They were like very in love. She wakes him up, and they're having a little pillow fight.
Yeah, I was kind of confused because I was more weary of like the connection to the MCU now this time, and I'm like, all right, so he's in San Francisco.
Oh,
how would this?
I didn't even think about. I just feel like they weren't planning at that point.
Of course, but they'll find a way. That's my opinion. We'll get there later on the prediction town, but
on the prediction town, sure.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure he said something about how he basically left New York to come to her, and she said basically that.
Okay, so they already
he lost his job.
They already had a little beef. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a little bit. Okay,
that makes sense actually, because I did think like one, it was weird that they were engaged and broke up so easily. It wasn't like they had just been dating a few months. But like but I also understood like what he did was very wrong. Like he took that info into her work. Yeah. Got her fired, it's like, oh, I'll get the story at any cost. It's kind of like the Eddie Brock story. He's also just kind of a weird dude. This is Tom Hardy, like kind of just doing his thing. I feel like this is definitely its own interpretation of Eddie Brock, the character. But yeah, he gets down on his luck. The network lets him go. His fiance leaves him. 6 months goes by. And all the while, we meet these symbiotes that came in from space. The space rocket was funded by the bad CEO. Did you get his name?
Oh, yeah.
Duncan? Is it Duncan?
Carlton.
Duncan Carlton?
Carlton Drake.
Duncan Carlton. Carlton Drake.
This is Riz Ahmed.
Riz Ahmed, yep, that's him.
I like that guy.
I liked him too. Thought he was a great bad guy, like so egotistical and God complex, all of it. I thought he nailed it.
Yeah.
The way he talks down to people, the way he convinces his scientists to keep working. You get the one girl from Parks and Rec. She's the hilarious scientist. She's got the glasses and the kid, and I forget her name, but she does a great job. But you meet these symbiotes that come on in this rocket ship, and they're basically black, gooey things that are alive, and they want to take over human hosts. But here's the thing. They only match up with certain hosts. If you match them up with certain humans, they'll just kill the human. The human will just die instantly in like really violent ways. And this guy, this CEO, does not care. I already forgot his name. Carlton. How can I forget that? So like this.
Just call him Drake.
Carlton Drake. Those are so easy names to remember. Carlton Drake.
He has another name too, but we'll get to that later.
Yes, he does. And he doesn't care. He's doing these studies the whole time. He's using the symbiotes on people. And the scientist girl, forgetting her name, Merkel, Dr. Merkel, something like that.
Is that it?
Yeah, it's something like that. I'm pretty close. She gets a guilty conscience, essentially. And she's like feeling bad about these people dying. So who does she call? Down in the dumps reporter, Eddie Brock, because he was the one that tried to take down Carlton Drake. And originally, so she calls him. They end up teaming up. She takes him into the place. This is where the story just gets like really wild. Takes him into the place. He sees his homeless friend in a cage. and she's got one of these symbiote things in her, but he doesn't know that. So what does he do? He does like the human thing and just tries to bust her out of the glass. She gets out, tries to kill him. The symbiote goes into him. This is where we get Eddie becoming Venom. And this big manhunt happens. He's on the run, and we get a whole bunch of weird stuff. He runs out of the building. There's people shooting at him. He can block bullets. He can have black stuff coming out of him, and he can ride a motorcycle and swing really cool. He can just basically use these things to kind of like web shoot like Spider-Man a little bit.
Crazy fun scene. That whole scene was amazing.
The whole sequence, and every sequence really from here on out is just really fun. The middle of the movie is mostly action. You just get to see kind of Venom do a bunch of cool stuff. And then when he eventually takes that full shape Venom, that's when you know, like, this is really cool. Mm-hmm. Like, that looks right. He's got
much better than the first time.
I mean, yeah, that first one.
Topher.
Poor Topher Grace. So what happens? Okay, he's got the Venom powers, and he's like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. Turns out Carlton Drake also connects with a symbiote. There was a symbiote that was kind of off on its own, journeying the Earth during this whole 6 months, like jumping from person to person. And
that was my favorite part. The opening scene.
So the opening scene with
not the favorite part of the whole movie, but
so the opening scene is like the vastness of space, the ship coming in,
and how they
and then there's some kind of commotion, and then it crashes.
It just comes straight into
into
opens
the
up with the symbiote wrecking through that. I think it was like a truck or something.
Like a truck, because it takes over the astronaut's body or like the EMT or somebody, and they flip the ambulance, and it just busts its way out, like explodes it.
Immediately, I'm in.
You're like, okay. Yes. Doesn't take long.
Give me more.
Like, you figure out right away in the first 5 minutes. They don't do a bad job of explaining this. They're like, these are aliens. They're black gooey. You connect to people, and then you're really strong.
Yep.
That's it. That's all you need to know. Well, that thing, that's him, right? Made it all the way back to the United States, to the CEO. They merge. This is the bad guy version of Venom. And the whole goal here is to get on that rocket as a symbiote, go back to the home planet, and come back with a whole bunch to invade and conquer the Earth.
Just eat everyone.
And just eat everyone's heads.
That'd suck.
Hopefully
that never happens.
If that happened like that, and these things were they can hide in people is the scariest thing.
Right.
Which, speaking of which, Venom hiding in Tom Hardy, it's not just him with the powers. Venom is its own character. He's a person. He's a character. He has a voice. He has a will. He even tells Eddie Brock at a certain point, because a big thing that me and Carrie get hung up on was, like, why was he so compatible with the symbiote? Like, he just happened to go to the place and get the symbiote from that homeless lady, his friend, and it's a perfect match. He reaches symbiosis within, like, a matter of a day, right? Symbiosis. This is, like, whenever the equilibrium happens. And it's like, why did that happen? And they don't really explain. Like, it's just kind of like a coincidence. It just works out, in my opinion. But
Same.
Venom says to Eddie Brock, he says, I picked you. I picked you, Eddie. He says something like that.
That was impressive. Wow.
Eddie, I want to eat some heads, Eddie. And he has a bunch of fun lines, and he's like kind of sarcastic. They had a lot of humor in it. You get Tom Hardy also doing some more weird stuff, just going to ramble it off, eating lobster heads, getting in a lobster pool, eating garbage, throwing up.
Eating a lot.
And looks like a drug addict. Just having like a seizure, like a fit.
A lot of tater tots.
Or like some kind of person just having a fit. I don't need to put him in the box of drug addict, but like definitely had like all sorts of weird things happening. Very gross, very visual. If you get grossed out by people eating and making slobbery noises, you'll hate that.
For sure.
But he gets it together. He has like a weird part with Venom where he finds out he's dying at the hospital with his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend, who's a doctor, puts him in the MRI machine. Remember this? And then they get back together. So I guess he wasn't killing him. Remember that, where he's like, were you killing me? Like the doctor friend tells Brock, hey, this thing's killing you.
I think he can. I think that's the thing. He can if he wants.
But he changed his mind.
Yeah.
Which is what Venom says to Eddie at the end when gearing up for the big fight. He says, I don't want to take over anymore. You changed my mind, Eddie. I like you so much that you changed my mind. And he goes, all right, I'll go fight with you. Aww. So yeah, exactly. So they go back to the rocket, go back to the CEO's big palace, and here's where we meet the symbiote that is within Carlton Drake, and his name's Riot.
Ryan?
Riot.
I know. Just kidding.
Ryan? And he's got all sorts of tricks, as Venom says. He's got he's got shit you've never seen. And he's got like a big axe. He can like do spikes out of his back. He's just a lot bigger. And you get a crazy, gnarly 3D fight between these two. At one point, all 4 of these people become one. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, that's why I'm excited that Let There Be Carnage is going to have like a red character versus a black one.
Because it was
I
hard
didn't
to
know
tell.
who was who. Like half the time they were battling.
Yeah, and it's just a mess. A mess of black and kind of gray.
I think visually it's going to look awesome. We're doing IMAX, right?
We are. Don't get ahead of yourself,
Sorry,
Andy.
sorry.
Don't get ahead of yourself. I know you're excited.
I am.
I am too.
Sorry.
It's all right. Hey, you don't have to be sorry. You talk about where your heart takes you, okay? Go for the journey. Wrapping this one up, though. Big fight, big gooey fight. Pretty much ends with the ship being exploded by Venom, and the Riot and Carlton Drake are inside. It goes kablooey. Venom and Eddie Brock fall to the water. They lead you to believe that Venom's gone. Venom's not gone. You see at the end, Eddie and his girlfriend are kind of reconciling, and he's got Venom on his back, and he eats the same thug guy that tries to hold up the jewelry store that was like trying to take money for protection that you met earlier in the film. He murders him right in front of that lady, eats his whole body.
Says he has a parasite. He's hungry though.
And walks out.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, that's a good, anti-hero. He's
It
just
is.
gonna only eat like bad guys.
That's what Eddie Brock said. You can only eat bad people.
Makes sense. That's what I do too.
You get yeah, right. You only get 2 end credit scenes, so that's the story. That's Venom. Pretty good. Kind of messy. It's an origin story. Then two end credit scenes. The first one picks up the story exactly for what we're about to see in Venom: Let There Be Carnage. It's the end credit scene at the prison. Woody Harrelson playing.
Oh my God.
I can almost say it. I almost didn't. I was like, I know you got your phone right there. Terrence.
Cletus Cassidy.
Cletus Cassidy, a redheaded murderer who says when he gets out, there's going to be carnage. He makes a sign with welcome Eddie and blood. Eddie's there to interview him. Probably with the coolest scene of the whole movie. Yeah, in credit scene, teasing you up for the next movie. Can't wait to talk about that one. And the second one, did you watch this one too? Did you remember?
I don't remember it.
I
didn't watch it.
I remembered this from theaters.
Today.
It's the same one from theaters, which I thought was pretty cool that they left it in. It was a teaser for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And they go, meanwhile, in another universe, and it's just a scene.
Oh.
Remember that? And Miles Morales is running. It's a scene where he meets Peter Parker.
I don't think I saw this.
Oh, it was great. Oh, I saw that in theaters. I couldn't believe it. So that's, if you watch this and you rent it, we didn't even talk about that, but we had to rent this thing. $3.99, cool. Not available to watch anywhere else, but we paid for it. We enjoyed it. And we'll go give it up for 2018's Venom. Andy, let's start with you. Final thoughts, anything we missed, anything in your notes we didn't cover, and let's go and get your rating on this thing so we can move on and do some prediction town for the sequel of this bad boy.
2.75.
I was going to give it a 2.8.
Are you serious? That's funny.
I figured just get them both done.
It's the first time I've ever done a 2-digiter, but I was really stuck between 2.7 and 2.8.
Yep.
So I just split the difference.
What'd you feel about it? What do you think the problems are?
I mean, it's like
what's it? Because obviously we know the good stuff. The action's there. We got a story that we understand. What's missing?
It's just kind of like every other. It's just like the mold of all the other superhero movies, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but a lot. There's not just a lot that I like absolutely loved. It was just slightly above average the whole way, I guess is the best way to put it. I'm really excited for the next one for sure. But I think in the back of my head, it might mostly be because of what we already talked about with end credit scene and all this stuff.
Which we don't even know.
Speculation.
Which we don't even know yet.
But I don't even, I mean, I'm still pumped for the, like I said earlier, I said add a little red to, instead of black versus black with the villains here. But I mean, that red could be a couple different things. You know what I mean?
I do. I know exactly what you mean. All right, this one I like your rating. I like that you threw in the 2 digits. I think PC Mike would respect that. I don't know if he's seen this one. We'll have to see if we get his ranking in the books. And Anything else we're missing from the movie?
We missed the Stan Lee cameo.
Oh yeah, I got a Stan Lee cameo in this. That was awesome.
Dog walker. He's just walking his dog at the very end of the movie.
Loved it.
Just made me miss him.
You get a Venom, female Venom. Venom takes over his girlfriend, and they like make out.
That was weird.
That was weird. Again, Tom Hardy just eating stuff so hard. It was so gross.
Yeah.
I didn't like that
ripped
really.
through that bag of tater tots.
I think the movie really moves quickly, and I just think you said it, cookie cutter a little bit, and it's almost like I almost felt like this is fun enough. I mean, I think that's why we fell in that high twos, right? We're not like mad at the movie. It's cool. The Venom looks good enough. The Venom saves the whole movie.
Yeah, 100%.
Like if that Venom looked like shit, then the movie falls apart so fast because Tom Hardy, I'll give it to him. I mean, this is Eddie Brock. No one really knows this character. We've only seen him in Spider-Man 3. This is just like its own character that you're meeting for the first time. I just thought he was kind of like quirky and interesting and like couldn't tell when he was like being real serious and joking sometimes. So, but at the end of the day, I had a good time. I had fun. All right, let's get into prediction time. How about we move on from this one?
Okay.
All right, so this is Venom. It's in our new Sony Spider-Verse category on the website. Can we talk about it? We'll talk about it here in a minute. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. The sequel, teased out in 2018, coming to us here in theaters in September of 2021. We're seeing this thing in IMAX down in Ronnie's Marcus Theaters off Lindbergh, St. Louis. Huh?
What a surprise.
What a surprise. I bet we're going to eat at Three Kings. Who knows? If we have enough time, we'll stop at the Take 5.
Please, God, let's do all those.
We booked our tickets on Fandango. This is how we see the movies. And if you're going to be there that night, this Thursday, September 30th, look out for us. We'll have the swag on. We'll have some Mostly Superheroes merch. We'll sign autographs and
yeah. We have a little. The squad's growing though.
Scott might trick me again. Scott's walked up to me in a couple crowds recently and been like, "Are you a local celebrity from Logan from Mostly Super?" Like, shut up.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, we're gonna be there, and this is the face-off. We got Carnage, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, the red guy. You're gonna get your wish there, facing off Tom Hardy. This is Woody Harrelson as Cletus
Cassidy.
Cletus
Cassius
Clay.
Clay. It's Muhammad Ali.
That's right.
Close.
It's a pretty similar name, and apparently he's going to get out of prison. There's something with a death, like getting put to death. It looks like that might, in the trailer, is how he gets it. Maybe his symbiote. Who knows? That's a guess. And we've heard a lot of buzz about an end credit scene, and we're not going to let that overshadow the movie. We're going to do what we always do, at least on my end, personally. Going to go in with level heads, level expectation. But I'm hoping I'll just say this out loud, because we're here at the week of, Andy. We're 2 nights away for us in real time. And a review next week, of course. So if you're listening now, get ready for this review of this movie. Maybe you should go see it right away if you haven't seen it yet. I want to see the Spider-Man crossover, whatever that means. And I'm hoping it's Tom Holland. I hope it's MCU time. I hope it's time to bring the family together. I hope there's some kind of multiverse jump. I don't know if we'll get it necessarily now, if maybe that'll be more like Venom 3. I think it'll happen eventually, but that's just a guess. What do you think? What are you hoping to see out of this movie? Do you have any expectations for this movie? How do you feel going in?
It's tough. I think it's going to be just like the first one, just like slightly above average. There's not going to be something where I want to keep watching it. But the end credit scene, I sort of have a prediction that I don't think it's going to be anything connected to MCU. I think they're going to start building their own sort of like villain verse over here.
Sinister Six?
Towards that, yes. Exactly.
You think it's going to be more about like, here's this, here's Morbius.
Kraven the Hunter, Morbius.
Yeah, but what about the Vulture?
They've already teased the Vulture. Like, they could even have, what if they're like, we want to have Tobey Maguire be Spider-Man again?
Yeah.
What if they had like multiverse Tobey Maguire Spider-Man with sort of these villains?
What if he was
what's stopping them from doing that if
nothing.
they're both Sonys?
Yeah, you're so right. Like, it's already Sony. There has to be something else going on that we're not aware of.
What the F else is Tobey Maguire doing right now? I don't know.
Like, why would you allow Tom Holland to continue his trail with Disney whenever you got Venom over here just hanging out?
Yeah, that's probably asking too much to have another Spider-Man.
This is Venom.
But
This is like having Brainiac without Superman.
no, I agree.
This is like
though.
having the Joker without Batman.
The crossover will eventually happen, but I think it's going to be a while before we get there. I think they're going to do their own Sinister Six thing, and then maybe after that, then it will happen.
I think you're maybe onto something here. I think you got a really good guess happening.
Remember how we get so excited for these things, then we overshoot? I always try to just bring my expectations a little bit
talking about WandaVision?
100% yes.
You talking about how we got kind of out of control?
Mephisto's going to be the villain of Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
Brandon Davis put out a tweet about that. He's like, I'm missing the WandaVision days. And just like all the theories, like every little thing. Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe you're onto something here. Slow roll it a little bit. More about like the villains they're building up. Maybe a crossover. But either way, something's happening in an end credit scene. We don't know what it is, but something. Something that's got people excited.
Maybe more than one.
That would be awesome.
Just stay off the social medias to stay away from them.
I have to.
I would be so mad if I saw.
I have been actively ignoring stuff online because people have been tweeting and putting on Instagram like all sorts of like spoilers and literally just spoilers. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Like literally being like, here's the end credit scene. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Like the movie's not even out yet.
That's why I see these movies the first day that I possibly can. So if there's anyone that wants to give us like advance tickets so that we can maybe just get that monkey off our back sooner, that'd be fine too.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. I had a lot of fun talking about this one with you. Can't wait to go to the movies with you again for the like 10th time this summer. Can't wait to see this movie. Venom, Let There Be Carnage, listener. Be sure to see this thing if you want to enjoy the next episode of Most of the Superheroes. That's what it's all about. We're going to be talking all about that movie, breaking it wide open, talking about our movie experience. And this is pretty exciting. This is the first movie, talking about Venom 2018, that's going to be on our newest category page, right into the categories. The Sony Spider-Verse is now part of this. And it's funny that the first movie that's going into that is Venom. It's not even a Spider-Man flick. I love it. Now, you may notice, well, we'll talk about this in coming up, but make sure you go check out that at mostlysuperheroes.com/Sony.